Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Breakthrough Moment podcast. Zac Deane here with Michael Marcial. Thank you so much for joining us today, mate.
Yeah, Zach, I'm pumped to be here, man. It's gonna be good.
Awesome. For those of you who don't know Michael, he's the founder of the High Ticket Accelerator. He's a man of many talents and he's by far an entrepreneur through and through. He's done TEDx talks. He's been featured in Forbes, Inc., Disruptive Magazine, and Influencive Magazine as well. He's been on over 250 plus stages and podcasts. So I'm super excited for this interview, Michael. Let's dive straight into it. I'm super curious. What have been some of your breakthrough moments throughout your career?
Nice. We're getting right into the meat of it. Career-wise, I always look back to really just a handful of moments. And I'd say one of the most impactful moments for me was about a decade ago. I went through a divorce, which I didn't see coming, but in hindsight, it was clear as day that I had kind of let myself go, and I don't know, I wasn't really living much, and went through this divorce. It wasn't really, like I said, foresought, but went through it. And over the next year, I just, in my personal life, how I showed up in the world, how I was running my business, just kind of continually did one of these little numbers. And a year after the divorce, found myself homeless and unsure what I was going to do, about, income, and trying to be a role model for my daughter at the same time while living out of my, 2006 Pontiac G6 in the middle of winter in Utah. So yeah, that 3-month period where I slept in my car was absolutely everything. It was the highest highs and the lowest lows that I had in that period of my life, for sure. And we can dive more into that. There's a lot of juice in that. But yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind, for sure.
Wow. How did you get out of living in your car? 3 months seems like quite a long time. What was the moment that shifted that?
It's kind of funny. So at the time, my daughter just turned 2. So she was roughly 2 years old at the time. This is a decade ago. And at this point, she was like, everyone says this about their kids. So I'm going to preface this by that. My daughter's like super, super smart. Okay. She's the smartest kid in the world. All right. We'll get that out of the way. And at this point in her life, she was speaking not in full sentences, but very, legibly. Like you knew that she was speaking in almost full sentences at this point. And I remember I came back to my apartment. I see the notice on the door. I have 3 days to move out of this apartment for not paying rent. Turns out, side note, life lesson for everybody: if you don't pay your rent, at some point they ask you to leave. Okay. Another lesson, I know, mind blown, but here we go. Okay. Smartest baby in the world, got evicted from my apartment. And the next weekend, that was like my weekend to be with my daughter. I'm freaking out. And I have to then tell my former wife at this point, hey, look, I'm run into this situation, been evicted from my apartment. I still want to see Lexi. So, I'm going to pick her up. We'll go spend the last of my $4.93 at McDonald's or something, and we'll have a great time, but I'll have to bring her back. And then, because I don't have a safe place to keep her, for the weekend. And yeah, she was like, okay, well, you get the luxury of telling this to your daughter. So I pick her up, and we go have a great time. And while we're kind of finishing dinner, I just tell her, I'm like, hey, I don't have my apartment any longer. I don't have a place to keep you. So after we're done, for the night, I'm going to bring you back to your mom, and you'll be there for the weekend. And this is the talk about a breakthrough moment. I remember we're sitting in the car. She looks me dead in my soul through the rearview mirror. And she's like pondering. She's like, okay, you don't have the apartment. You can't keep me overnight. And then she's like, well, why don't you just make more money? And dude, when I tell you like the reaction you have right now, like half like, what'd you say? And like half just like, of course, how simple and like how profound. I did the same thing. I was like, damn, why didn't I think of this? Like, it was so simple. And really what I took from that was like, why don't you just go do something about it? That's what I really heard from my daughter, who is my number one person at this point in my life. I mean, she still is. And it hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Just said like, what are you doing about this situation? And I had to reflect on that. I had to take 100% radical accountability that I got myself in this situation. And if I could create such mess, if I could contribute to this, I could probably do the opposite. I could probably create something amazing. And so that was the breakthrough. It was just like it was time to decide. I dropped my daughter off at her mama's, and I remember sitting in my car like, okay, well, you have the choice. You can either go left and go into the depths of despair, or you can go right and just blow the lid off of everything. What do you have to lose? And that was the most impactful moment at that point in my life. I was like, all right, I've got nothing to lose. Back's against the wall. Let's go make something happen. Right. So that was it, man. 10 years ago. And like you said, I've been on a lot of stages now and podcasts and stuff like that, being able to share bits of my story and some of my unique business philosophies and stuff like that. And it just came off the back of like, let me just go do something. Let me get in the lab. Let me try this thing out. If I fail, what do I have to lose? Right. And so, I'm already like living off of trail mix and lemonade. So anything better than this is a huge, huge win. And so I took that leap of faith and I went that direction and never looked back.
This is exactly why I started this interview series, is for stories like that. That is exactly such a mind-bending experience for someone who's never experienced that before. And to take, what you just shared is so brilliant. I'm taking us into that experience. I'm like, whoa, that's super powerful and it makes me reflect on my life too, or different times, like just make more money. Like, wow. So what happened after that? How did you then turn that ship around?
Yeah. That weekend, I just kind of went back to the basics. An entrepreneur friend of mine who, is really big on lifestyle inside of business, not always just, working, living to work, so to speak, but working to live. He really like harps on this idea of the Ikigai exercise. If you haven't done it, it's a really good one. And I believe loosely Ikigai translates through Japanese to essentially the meaning of life, purpose. Why are you here? And I did a version of this in my car, just answering the question, like, what am I really good at? What could I get paid for? What do I actually love doing? So I won't get burnt out and go like create another job for myself that I'm used to the corporate world. What do people actually need? Right. And so I started really writing these things down and getting really, really clear on this. I'm like, I'm going to start a business. It's obviously going to be from my car using free Wi-Fi from McDonald's and Starbucks. Okay. And so I'm just going to, I don't know. I know I've got skill set. I know people have needs. What can I put together here? And so at that point, this is 10 years ago, I focused specifically on the one thing that I had kind of grown up doing, which is putting together educational content. And we would call it online courses. We would call it courses now. So at the time I was like, okay, I know I can put together educational content that will sell online. Who's making this kind of content, or who would want to make this kind of content? And it turned out it was other entrepreneurs like myself that were growing their brands online, wanting to leverage their time, have a product that they could sell while they sleep. And I was like, okay, it's entrepreneurs like me that are doing this right now. And at the time, it was only like, I think this year, the online education information products space crossed $250 billion. It's massive. At that point, it was like 50, 60, 70 billion, which is, this is a huge, huge number, but not in comparison to it 5Xing, over the last 10 years. And so I was like, okay, there's enough meat on this bone. And so I just started reaching out to people through social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I was like, hey, it looks like you're a coach. It looks like you have some sort of expertise. You are an entrepreneur. Have you ever put your information together and sold it to the people that can't afford your $10,000, $20,000 thing? They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'd love to. I have no idea how to do that. And I was like, okay, there's enough I'd like to's. So I put together a basic offer. I slapped $1,000 price tag on it. And I was like, all right, listen, over the next 4 weeks, I could walk you through the process. I'll show you how to put it online, how to price it, the content you need, and literally whatever else you need, I will just brain dump with you for 4 weeks. How's that sound? And before I knew it, that weekend, Zach, was 5 yeses at $1,000, right? And for context, like some entrepreneurs are gonna watch this like, oh, you made $5,000 in a weekend, I can do that today, right? But the context is I came off of the back of working the previous 10 years as an entrepreneur, self-employed, making maximum $49,000 a year, right? So I made a tenth of my biggest year as an entrepreneur in a weekend, and I was beside myself, absolutely floored, couldn't tell me nothing. I was cloud nine, like everything was just roses and unicorns. And so then I got to work, and literally 10 years later, now we've expanded what we do inside of courses, coaching, community in the high ticket space specifically. And yeah, man, that's kind of where it started. And like I said, I have not looked back. We're not going that direction. So it's, that's the story in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Congratulations. That's exciting. Wow. So for anyone else out there, I'm sure there's many entrepreneurs or business owners right now who are potentially at a similar point. They may be on the brink of throwing it all in or struggling financially. And they're, as you mentioned, like that close to just changing their whole life within one day. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah. I would say this, I'll give it in the context of how I felt it in that time period, is that I kind of felt beat up by life. I was like, why every time I try to get ahead, there's another punch in the gut, sock in the face? Like, why is it always something? And I had to come to grips with this idea that all the good stuff in life that I wanted, and all the setbacks, all of the trials, tribulations, all that stuff was all part of the same thing. It was all going to be part of it. This is life. Life isn't perfect. And I think some part of me always compared myself to the entrepreneur, the ideal dad, the whatever identities I had, I was always comparing like, oh shit, that guy's got it figured out. That girl's got it figured out. That's a power couple over there. Okay, got it. And I'm none of those things. Why does everyone else have a perfect life and not me? Like, just being real, that's how I thought for a long time. And then I realized the more I got to know people, the more I realized, oh, everybody has two sides of that coin. Everybody's wanting this and plugging along and feeling like they're here. Okay, right. Okay, so if that's true, and nothing that I see is just perfection, although social media sometimes feels like it and looks like it, then what does that say about me? What does that say about life? And so the one takeaway I would give to entrepreneurs, people, whoever's watching this, is that personal or even the business, like the tragedy side of it and the triumph side of that are two sides of the same coin. And how you accept that dictates and determines your future as an entrepreneur or as a human, right? So if I'm willing to look at my life and say, oh, okay, me getting socked in the face, and I really love this, like the book, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. It's kind of a summary of some Stoic philosophies. And I think the title says it all. You can go and read the book, but you'll come back to the same conclusion that the title gives it away. The obstacle isn't really an obstacle. It's always part of that path you were going to go on. And thus it is your opportunity to tackle. So the takeaway is just understanding that all of that is part of the journey. And when you start looking at it like that, at least when I did, I was like, I gamified the fact that I was homeless. I was like, oh shit, okay. Like if I'm playing Mario right now, this is the time where I got like hit by the shell, I lost a life, and now I get to start at the beginning, and but wait a minute, I'm also the creator of this game. So what else could I do? I don't know. Maybe I'll start a business. Maybe I'll get in better shape. Maybe I'll stop the excuses. Maybe I won't be the victim here. Maybe I could actually be the victor for once in my story. Maybe I could do a ton of podcasts where people actually care about what I have to think and what I have to say. Right? What if I could stand on stage in front of 5,000 plus people and they're giving the standing ovation and they love what they just heard, and I could just be myself and pour into them. Right? But it's not without the other side, the challenge or the opportunity that comes with that. So I would say that's the takeaway. Like, enjoy all of it and know that you are ultimately at the helm of the controls of the game of life.
Wow. Mic drops. Mic drop moments. That's so
drops right there.
That's it. We'll end this right now. No, this is so great. Like it really sounds like, and for anyone at home going through a similar challenge, it's like you put a line in the sand when your daughter said to you, just make more money. And you could have gone, no, but you said yes. And so you then stepped across the line. And I love what you said around, okay, success and challenges, chaos and harmony, these are two sides of the same coin. And so you can't have one without the other, but it's about our perspective and taking action and agreeing to just throw yourself into the belief that you're the creator of the game. And okay, you're going to go, there's the alarm, the creator of the game. And so, yeah, that's awesome. That's a game-changing moment. How specifically did this change your mindset from the very beginning of, say, the week prior to, that feeling you would have had picking up your daughter, knowing that you didn't have a house, to now today with the mindset that you have? What's the difference in terms of the identity and what you were believing then and now? I'm super curious.
Yeah, the shift. Well, I'll give you the answer in, like, how does my day-to-day feel differently? Like, I think that's actually the best way to describe it, because back then my focus was on, I got to make money. Like, if I'm not making money, and 100%, this was me probably at minimum 10 years ago, but to maybe like 6 years ago, it was that my bank account and my self-worth were equal. And the bank account came first. It dictated the other. So if I was looking a little light in the account, I felt shitty. If it was over a certain amount, I was king of the world, couldn't stop me. All gas, no bricks. That was it. And I recognized that I was tied. That was my tether. That was my identity, my self-worth. Everything was tied up in an arbitrary number in a bank account. And today, now, like my biggest, like, mental, the bandwidth goes to, how do I make a better relationship with my daughter? How do I cultivate better relationships with myself, with the people in my life? Right. And so if we just pull back the layers of that, it's not just the strategy and the tactic and that stuff all the time. It's like, my shift has been, yes, money is important. We've got life to live and things to accomplish and things to invest in and all the goals that we've got, for sure. Totally love that. And the actual shift is that I've dropped from my head a little bit more into my heart, where it's like, yeah, all that's good, and I want to give my daughter the best, right? And how do I make sure, now that she just turned 12 years old, how do we have just a killer relationship that is another line in the sand for her, to measure future relationships and people in her life too, right? So that's, if we pull that back, it's not so much the strategy and the practical and the tactical stuff, the heady stuff, which is important. It's not just that, and survival mode and looking 12 hours into the future, 24 hours into the future. Now I'm like, she's 12. I've got 5, maybe 6 more summers, birthdays, Easters, Thanksgivings, for the Canadian audience, Boxing Day, right? Or that's the only one I'm in the States. Sorry, I'm naive, ignorant, if you will, right? It's 5 or 6 more of those, and then she's off doing her own thing with no guarantee of us really having the same kind of proximity with each other. So I'm thinking now 5, 6 years in the future, 10 years in the future, 20 years in the future. And it affords us the ability to kind of feel into that versus scarcity, small, short-sighted. We need this small win when we have this macro version of where we could be. So that shift in mindset, it's definitely a shift in identity of who we are. And I needed to go through that. Like I can't just say, hey, if you're in the struggle bus right now, don't worry about money. Don't worry about what's happening tomorrow. No, focus, dial in, absolutely get tunnel vision, get obsessed. Like if you could see my desktop on my computer here, it literally just says in massive letters, obsessed. Just that's it. It says obsessed. I'm looking right at it. Okay. Obsessed. Like it's okay in the micro, in the minutia, just speed, hit it, go ham on the thing. But also it's okay to step out of that and say, okay, well, where are we going long term? Okay, we're going that way, and then we get back in and we swim the freestyle. Right? Like it's a beautiful, I don't know, guess a shift in priorities. Back then I was not bringing my head up much. I was just digging. And now I have a little bit more breathing room. I have a little bit more, nice. Okay. We're going to get the work done, but I also need to keep an eye on the finish line, the next finish line kind of a thing. So hopefully that gives a little bit more context to what that is. But I think it all comes down to who, you're willing to become to achieve the next thing. For most of it's the impossibilities that we dream up. Who are you trying to become? Just be that. Just go towards that. You will win. That's bottom line.
They say the wisest people on earth have the greatest awareness, the ability to see different perspectives. And so it sounded like before, when you were focusing mainly on money and that being the defining factor of your self-worth and confidence and value to the world, I can definitely relate at times, where then you've gone to now, it sounds like you've got an awareness that when you improve your life, your health, your wealth, your relationships, your own inner wealth and your own quality of how you experience the world, then you've got a different level of awareness. It's outside of just money. So, and then what do they say? You don't go out and find the money. You become the person that then attracts the money or the health. You become that person, as you said, the identity. So that's really, really important. That's super cool.
Yeah, I love that distinction. It's an internal game for sure. The old, I guess, progression that people like to talk about is be, do, have. In that space, be the person who then does the thing, and then ultimately gets the result. You have the thing that you've wanted. And, I think we like to jump through those things, especially with social media. It's easy to say, oh, look at me. I have all of these things. So clearly I did something important and worthy of your attention, which means I am somebody pretty cool. It's like, you can't misstep this one. It's, mastery begins within. You really have to start there. Trying to scale your business, scale your, do the whatever, sure. But you've got to be the person to captain that ship. Like, otherwise you're the Titanic, it's going down. Right. So starting with that inner game is crucial.
So Michael, imagine you had a time machine and you could go back in time before your business career. What would be the one thing you'd like to change?
Damn it. This is a tough one. This question is deeper than most people think, because I think, part of my brain is like, oh, cool. What do I get to go back and do? The other part's like, well, who would I be if I changed any one of those little things? So it's like really stretches me as a philosophical thinker. But if I had to, if I had to go back and change something, I think I would have loved to experience, and this is just me being real. Like I've really thought about this one, is I would have loved to experience what it was like to have like that really tight-knit family unit growing up. Never really had that. My mom and dad divorced when I was young. And that played its own part of my journey into who I am today and what's really important to me. And at the same time, like that would be like that alternate reality would be so wild to see, because I have no idea who Michael at 39 3/4 years old would be today. I have no idea. And so if I could change one little thing, which would be a huge thing, it would be that.
I can relate. 100% similar story for me too. So yeah. So I think that's at the end of the day, the men that I work with, and I ask them like, what's the money going to give you? And it's usually they're going to create the home and help them with the family and create that peace and harmony at home. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The industry is changing so quickly. We've got technology and AI disrupting so much in the online, well, so much everywhere. What would be your prediction for the future within your industry on how AI is going to disrupt or change this industry?
Yeah. I think AI is so freaking cool and fascinating. I think, at least in my personal experience, not what I've read online, I don't know anybody that's really fearful of this AI movement. I know too many people that are in the mindset of like, oh, how do I leverage this? How do I expand this? How do I utilize? And so I think what will end up happening, and I think this will be across the board, is that you're going to start seeing people who may have lived in the shadows, so to speak. Maybe they're a little bit more introverted. They're more into the technology side versus I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to speak on stage and I'm going to do a bunch of video content to start flexing their muscle, which may not be the front of the house. It may be currently that behind the scenes, but that behind the scenes nature, the entrepreneur, the person that leverages that kind of technology is instantly going to pull like an Elon Musk, where he's not necessarily a front man, but he certainly is because he's leveraged technology and his brain muscle. So I think that's one thing just across the board. You're going to see a lot of those kinds of moves, and I think that'll be a really good thing. It'll shift some things really powerfully for intellectuals. I also see, at least in the high ticket sales space, whether we're talking about coaching, courses, whatever, when we talk about the sales aspect of that, when you get on a sales call with somebody and we're talking about a 5,000, 10,000, 25, 50, 100K thing, AI is so freaking good at understanding the correlation and the relationship between people, that interpersonal stuff, just because they have so much data and so much context, that I think at some point, real time, a human could be here having this conversation, being prompted by AI to analyze the conversation to make sure that they are serving that person at a high level, giving them the information and the bullet points that they need emotionally and intellectually to be able to purchase the thing, or to realize it's not a fit at all and they can move forward. So I think AI is going to help a lot of people that are scared to talk to people and have higher level conversation. I think that's just going to make it super, super easy. Personally, I'm not yet a fan of using like AI voice bots to have conversations with people, just because that's my style. I appreciate that other people are doing that, but my flavor has always been like, hey, I'm from the old school. I'm 20 years in this online space. We're going to have a phone call, right? Because I also resonate with people who are like, hey, I appreciate that. I don't want to go through some long funnel and a video and an upsell and blah, 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 blah. Let's just talk eagle to eagle, right? Person to person, and let me pay you some money that way, right? So I'm not there yet, but not because I bucked the system. It's because I know my audience. So,
Are you using any AI right now to help you with your business?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, ChatGPT is always fired up, right? When we put out content, it's easy for us to integrate ChatGPT into a couple workflows that we have building. Like, for example, a lot of our clients will use us to build their funnels and their go high level, their click funnels, their whatever platforms that they're using. And for our team that hasn't been in this space for 20 plus years, they can actually take my brain inside of the workflow that we have and spit out copy that I would want for our clients. So I don't have to be on 24/7 working with our team in the Philippines or in Portugal or in Israel or in my backyard. We have some people here local. All right. So that's a huge help. But outside of that, not really much.
Yeah. The workflows, how they help so much.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Shane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would be one of the most important messages you'd like everyone to depart with after listening to this?
you know, honestly speaking, nobody has it figured out. Nobody. And when you realize that and you really like, they always say, don't meet your heroes. Like, please don't meet me. Okay. I will underwhelm you 100%. I will let you down. I will fail you that way. And well, let's go a step further. Please meet me and realize, hey, this 5'7.5" guy, right, who is giving me some dad joke vibes and kind of like just like a regular dude, he's doing this. Like, I want you to have these ahas, because there's a point where we turn from the consumer, social media, content, another course, a coaching program, a mastermind, a thing. And then we were like, oh, wait a minute. Well, if they don't have it all figured out and all their content is actually missing some pieces here that I actually uniquely have background in, maybe I could turn the corner into a consumer, right? And become that entrepreneur that's putting out the next big program or the next thing that lights me up or serves a certain people in a certain way that nobody else has really looked at before. Or if we're not talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about life. Hey, my parents didn't have it figured out. They messed me up a little bit just by way of being human. I downloaded certain patterns and thoughts and beliefs and stuff like that just because I'm a sponge as a kid. And wait a minute, if they didn't have it figured out, and I think I turned out okay, maybe my daughter will be all right. Maybe I don't have to like be over like the hover parent or the over controlling or I can just do my best to show up as an example. I keep looking over here because I keep a little reminder over here. Okay. But like now I can breathe again. Now it's like, wait a minute, I'm actually doing pretty good. And if I'm not, if we have that awareness, say, hey, I'm fucking this up. Hopefully you can bleep that. Okay. I'm messing this up. Sorry, Lexi, if you watch this, right? We can look at it and say, okay, I get to do better there. All good. Like we caught it now. This is where we change. This is where we step up, but nobody has it figured out. And when you realize that, it gives you the freedom to create. And I think from creation is where some of the best, most life-changing, world-changing solutions come from, whether that's parenting, business, life, whatever. So nobody's got it figured out. You're doing great, right? Stick it out.
Well said. Well said. 100%. I couldn't agree more. And so what would be the one challenge that you'd like the listeners to take away today? What was the suggestion that you'd like them to go out there and utilize or go after?
Yeah, I would say one challenge to all listeners is like have your own rear view mirror moment. Whether it's have that hard conversation with somebody that loves you, that knows you, or with yourself, like literally look yourself in the mirror and make that promise for yourself. Like go after the thing. Like give it 100%. You're not crazy for doing it. Nobody's going to judge you, and those that are judging you are not worth taking the brain power away. Like get obsessed about the thing. Say the thing you need to say. Repair the relationship. Start the business. Hire the thing. Spend the money. Like we get one shot, as far as I'm aware. Like you can go left, you can go right, and I'm telling you, like we are the author of this game. We are the player of this game. I believe that there's other, I'll say higher powers at play here. That's my belief. We don't have to be on the same page with that, but go after the thing. You literally can't fail by trying. So give it everything you got, 100%, all gas, no brakes.
And be obsessed. I think that's one of the things. I say that from time to time with my buddies. It's those that are successful. Yeah, there's nothing super special about them. They've just honed in and become obsessed and they get it done. So this has been super insightful. Michael, how can everyone get in touch with you, and who is your perfect client or customer? Who is it that you can help the most?
Yeah, experts, people that have a level of knowledge around something that they're passionate around. We work with a lot of coaches, business coaches, life coaches sometimes, people that want to take their information and leverage it. Most of our clients are they've launched something. They have a coaching business, they have a course, but they want to scale it up. And a lot of our clients go from, maybe they're at zero, they go to their first $10,000 or $20,000 a month, and they can do that predictably, or 10, 20K to 50 to 100. We have a couple of clients that have scaled up to $1 million a month and beyond. So those are our people that kind of see that progression. They know that it's going to take some work. They want the insight. And we have more of a done for you model. So a lot of the brand development or the technology or building your sales team, we'll do all that in-house for you. It's actually very cost effective for us to do that. But yeah, best way, I love to connect with people for real. So social, DM me, let me know you heard me on the Breakthrough Moment podcast. That way I've got some context to who we are. But let's connect for real. I'm a human, you're a human. Let's do life.
There you have it, guys. If you're a coach, if you're an expert, if you're looking to scale your business, get in touch with Michael, reach out to him. I'll put the links around this video somewhere. Michael, appreciate your time. These have been pearls of wisdom here. And I really hope that everyone at home takes at least one thing. There's many things that you shared today, but at least one thing from today and implements it into their life. Because yeah, that's how we make breakthroughs happen, as we learn, implement, and bit by bit, the breakthroughs happen more and more. Because most people get stuck in a breakdown, right? This is all about having a breakthrough. So
love that. Yeah. Thanks, Zac, for having me, man. Seriously, what you're doing here is awesome. So appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.